"Ma'am, you are not allowed in here." The officer barked, his tone sharp and dismissive as the bustling security hall fell into a tense hush. Maya Brooks adjusted her coat, holding her badge calmly, a symbol of her years of service and dedication, and met his gaze without flinching, her mind racing through the protocols, the meetings, and the data she had prepared for today's critical briefing. Yet she maintained a serene composure, her voice steady as she requested verification of her credentials. The crowd of onlookers shifted uncomfortably, sensing the conflict escalating but unsure of the truth. Officers whispered among themselves while Maya's calm presence contrasted sharply with the authoritative assumptions being made. She recalled her early days in the Pentagon, the long nights poring over intelligence reports, the meticulous attention to detail that had earned her respect among colleagues. And as she stood firm, her demeanor unyielding but polite, a subtle ripple of curiosity spread through the audience, cameras raised discreetly, capturing the tension. The misunderstanding of her presence at a high-security meeting created a visible strain, yet she did not speak out of anger, nor did she attempt to assert her position overtly. Instead, relying on the undeniable facts of her identity and role, her posture exuded confidence without arrogance, a quiet strength that contrasted with the visible doubt in Officer Walker's eyes. As he hesitated, unsure of how to proceed, Maya's steady gaze conveyed the depth of her experience, the countless briefings, and the precise knowledge she held about national security matters. She remained composed, letting the moment stretch, the crowd holding its collective breath, anticipating the resolution, the air thick with expectation. The hall seemed to contract around the unfolding scene, a subtle reminder that authority can be questioned not through confrontation, but through the undeniable credibility and professionalism that Maya embodied. Her calm insistence on protocol and verification set the stage for the impending revelation, and though the officer initially acted on assumption and bias, the seeds of doubt were planted. As Maya's composed and articulate presence commanded attention, the opening moments of this encounter already shaping the narrative that would unfold, illustrating the power of poise and professional integrity in moments of public scrutiny and potential misjudgment. As Maya Brooks remained composed, the murmurs in the room grew louder, officers exchanging uncertain glances while she patiently presented her Pentagon credentials, her voice calm and deliberate, explaining her clearance level and the urgent matters she was scheduled to address. The young officer hesitated, caught between protocol and assumption, while the assembled staff and visitors leaned in. Sensing that the situation was about to shift, Maya recalled her years of rigorous training, the countless simulations and emergency response scenarios she had mastered, each step requiring precision and clarity, and she drew upon that experience now, allowing her calm authority to fill the room without a word of anger or confrontation. The security staff slowly began to verify her identification, checking badges and cross-referencing logs, while Maya maintained a confident, patient stance, demonstrating poise under scrutiny, her eyes meeting the officers with a quiet insistence that commanded respect. She articulated her mission clearly, emphasizing the critical nature of the intelligence briefing she was attending and the importance of her presence for national security considerations. The tension in the room was palpable, every observer aware of the delicate balance between authority and assumption. Yet Maya's composed demeanor created a subtle shift in perception, turning initial skepticism into cautious acknowledgment. As verification confirmed her credentials, the officer's posture softened, his expression a mixture of surprise and reluctant respect. The atmosphere transformed from one of confrontation to professional acknowledgment. The other personnel in the room began to murmur affirmations, recognizing the legitimacy of her role, and the scenario became a demonstration of measured authority, patience, and procedural accuracy. Maya's presence, calm yet unwavering, set the stage for the ensuing briefing, highlighting how competence and professionalism can challenge preconceived notions, change perceptions, and command a room without raising a voice, ultimately reinforcing the importance of validation, patience, and adherence to proper channels in high-stakes environments. As the staff prepared to accommodate her, acknowledging both her expertise and her credentials, Maya's composed response became a quiet testament to authority rooted in experience and verified facts, establishing that foundation for the day's critical discussions and decisions. As Maya Brooks stepped further into the room, the tension lingered. The officers, now fully aware of her status and the gravity of her position, she exuded a calm, commanding presence that contrasted sharply with the uncertainty etched on their faces. Her professional attire perfectly pressed, reflecting meticulous attention to detail and authority. She moved with deliberate precision toward the conference table, the hum of the air conditioning blending with the soft shuffle of papers and low murmurs of colleagues speculating on the earlier confrontation. Maya's gaze swept across the room, noting the subtle shifts in body language, a slight relaxation of shoulders, hesitant glances exchanged among the officers. She recognized that perception and confidence were equally crucial in these high-stakes environments. As she reached for a chair, she paused momentarily, allowing the weight of her presence and the undeniable verification of her credentials to resonate. The officer who initially challenged her now visibly reassessed the situation, his initial judgment replaced by a cautious acknowledgment of her authority. Maya began outlining her agenda with clarity, the importance of each point underscored by her deliberate pacing and measured tone, her communication demonstrating not only competence but the strategic acumen that had earned her recognition at the Pentagon. Her colleagues leaned in, absorbing every word, the atmosphere transforming from confrontation to focused engagement. As she detailed the sensitive initiatives she was overseeing, the collaborative dynamic began to take shape. Officers who were moments ago skeptical now contributed with careful, respectful input. Maya's presence had shifted the room from tension to productive attention, illustrating how composure, expertise, and credibility can alter perceptions and establish control without hostility. The dialogue progressed seamlessly, with Maya guiding the discussion, balancing assertiveness with professional courtesy, ensuring that the critical objectives were understood and actionable. By the end of the meeting segment, the energy in the room had completely transformed, skepticism replaced by recognition and alignment. Maya's demonstration of poised authority and strategic insight highlighted the significance of validation, patience, and professional demeanor in commanding respect, managing perceptions, and achieving effective outcomes within structured, high-pressure organizational settings, leaving a lasting impression of capability and measured leadership. The meeting had not started yet, and that fact alone surprised Maya Brooks more than anything else. After everything that had happened at the security entrance, she expected to walk into a room already deep in discussion. Instead, senior officials, analysts, and advisors stood in small groups around the conference center exchanging quiet conversations while screens displayed briefing materials that had not yet been presented. Maya placed her folder on the table and took a seat near the front. The polished wood surface reflected the bright overhead lights, creating a calm contrast to the tension she had left behind only minutes earlier. Around her, people reviewed notes, checked secure devices, and prepared for the morning session. Yet despite the professional atmosphere, Maya could feel eyes occasionally turning in her direction. Word traveled quickly inside federal buildings. Some people had already heard that a misunderstanding had occurred at the entrance. Others only knew that a delayed arrival had somehow become the subject of unusual attention. Maya ignored the whispers. She had spent too many years in high-pressure environments to become distracted by speculation. Her focus remained on the work. Across the facility, Officer Ethan Walker stood near the security station reviewing incident reports. Although his responsibilities required him to remain attentive, his thoughts kept returning to the woman he had challenged earlier. Something about the encounter bothered him. Not because she had eventually gained access. Not because her credentials had been verified. What unsettled him was the calm certainty she displayed throughout the entire situation. Most people argued. Most people demanded exceptions. Maya Brooks had done neither. She simply requested verification and waited. The memory replayed in his mind repeatedly. Several officers nearby discussed the incident quietly. One suggested that Maya might hold a senior government position. Another believed she was likely connected to a federal agency. Walker listened without participating. For the first time that morning, he began questioning whether he had relied too heavily on assumptions. Back inside the conference room, Maya reviewed several pages of briefing material. The information concerned national infrastructure security, emergency preparedness, and long-term strategic planning. The topics were serious. Decisions made inside this room could affect millions of people. That reality reminded her why professionalism mattered. Personal frustration had no place here. As participants gradually took their seats, a senior official approached Maya and thanked her for attending on short notice. She smiled politely and assured him she was ready. The interaction was brief, but several nearby attendees immediately recognized her. Their reactions revealed something important. Maya was not simply another participant. She was someone whose expertise carried significant weight. Outside the conference center windows, Washington's sunlight reflected from nearby government buildings. The city moved forward with its usual rhythm while important decisions quietly unfolded behind secure walls. Back at the entrance, Walker received an unexpected message from his supervisor requesting additional verification regarding the morning incident. The request was routine, yet it carried a level of urgency he had not anticipated. As he opened the file, he noticed several authorization codes attached to Maya's record. His expression changed instantly. The clearance levels were among the highest he had ever encountered. A quiet silence settled around him as he continued reading. For the first time, he realized that the woman he had doubted might be far more important than anyone standing at that entrance had understood. Officer Ethan Walker stared at the authorization file on his screen long after he finished reading it. The clearance indicators alone were enough to make him sit up straighter. Several sections were restricted even from his level of access. He refreshed the record twice, convinced he had overlooked something. The information remained exactly the same. Across the top of the file were verification markers that only appeared on personnel connected to highly sensitive federal operations. A quiet uneasiness settled over him. Earlier that morning, he had been completely certain of his judgment. Now that certainty was beginning to disappear. Around him, the security station remained busy. Visitors checked in. Employees passed through screening points. Radios transmitted routine updates. Yet Walker found it difficult to focus on any of it. His attention kept returning to Maya Brooks. At the same time, inside the secure conference room several floors above, Maya listened carefully as analysts presented updates on infrastructure resilience and national preparedness initiatives. Large digital displays illuminated the room with charts, timelines, and strategic assessments. Every participant understood the significance of the discussion. Maya contributed thoughtfully, asking precise questions and offering recommendations that immediately shifted the direction of several conversations. Senior officials took notes when she spoke. Subject matter experts responded directly to her observations. The respect she commanded was impossible to miss. Even then, she never raised her voice or attempted to dominate the room. Her influence came from knowledge, preparation, and years of experience. Back at the entrance, word about the morning incident had begun circulating among personnel. Some officers quietly discussed the situation. Others speculated about Maya's role within the federal system. No one seemed to have a complete answer. That uncertainty only increased curiosity. Walker overheard fragments of conversations, but remained silent. The more he learned, the more uncomfortable he became with how quickly he had formed his initial opinion. Hours earlier, he had seen only a woman approaching a restricted area. He had never considered the possibility that she might be one of the most important people scheduled to attend the meeting. Outside the building, reporters continued gathering information about the conference. Several had noticed unusual activity surrounding security procedures earlier in the day. Questions spread naturally. Who was the woman whose arrival had delayed operations? Why had multiple federal offices confirmed her credentials so quickly? Why had senior officials personally greeted her after she entered? The growing attention created an atmosphere of anticipation. Meanwhile, Maya remained completely unaware of most of the speculation. Her focus never shifted from the mission that had brought her there. During a brief pause between presentations, a senior administrator entered the room and quietly delivered a message to one of the conference organizers. The organizer glanced toward Maya before nodding respectfully. Whatever information had been delivered appeared important. Several people exchanged curious looks. The administrator then stepped back toward the doorway and waited. Moments later, a secure phone placed near the front of the room began to ring. The sound immediately captured everyone's attention. Conversation stopped. Papers remained untouched. The organizer answered the call, listened briefly, and then looked directly at Maya. A subtle smile appeared on his face. Across the room, anticipation filled the silence. Something significant was about to happen, and although no one knew exactly what it was, every instinct told them the next few minutes would change everything. The secure phone continued ringing for only a few seconds, yet to everyone inside the conference room it seemed much longer. The organizer listened carefully, nodded twice, and then covered the receiver before turning toward Maya Brooks. The room had become unusually quiet. Analysts who had been reviewing reports lowered their pens. Senior officials paused their conversations. Even the soft clicking of keyboards gradually stopped. Maya remained seated, her expression unchanged, as if unexpected attention was something she had learned to ignore years ago. The organizer spoke calmly. "Dr. Brooks, this call is for you." Several people exchanged curious looks. Maya stood, walked toward the front of the room, and accepted the phone with a polite thank you. She listened for a moment before a small smile appeared on her face. "Good afternoon, General," she said. The title alone caused a subtle reaction throughout the room. A few attendees immediately recognized the significance of the greeting. Maya continued listening, speaking only briefly. Her responses were professional, concise, and respectful. Whatever was being discussed clearly required no explanation. The confidence in her voice suggested a conversation between colleagues who had worked together many times before. After less than a minute, she thanked the caller and returned the phone to the organizer. The room remained silent. The organizer smiled. "The general sends his regards." A few people chuckled softly. The tension eased, but curiosity only grew stronger. Meanwhile, several floors below, Officer Ethan Walker received another notification regarding the morning incident. This time the message originated from a federal oversight office. He opened it immediately. Attached was an authorization summary confirming Maya's role within multiple national security initiatives. Walker read each line carefully. Strategic Advisor, Infrastructure Resilience Specialist, Senior Consultant on Federal Preparedness Programs. The list continued. The more he read, the more he understood why so many verification systems had responded instantly when her credentials were checked earlier. Maya Brooks was not merely attending the conference. She was one of the people helping shape its agenda. Outside the building, afternoon sunlight reflected from the glass towers of Washington. Reporters continued, gathering information near the entrance. Rumors circulated among staff members, visitors, and security personnel. Yet nobody seemed to possess the complete story. Back inside the conference room, the presentations resumed. Maya calmly returned to her seat and reviewed the next set of briefing documents. There was no sign of pride or satisfaction on her face. She did not mention the phone call. She did not explain who had contacted her. She simply focused on the work. That quiet professionalism left a stronger impression than any title could have. Several participants who had never met her before now watched with growing respect. They noticed how often senior officials asked for her opinion. They noticed how carefully people listened when she spoke. Most importantly, they noticed that she never used her position to elevate herself above anyone else. As the afternoon progressed, the atmosphere shifted from curiosity to admiration. Yet the biggest revelation had not happened yet. Unknown to everyone in the room, a visitor was already on the way to the conference center. His arrival would answer every remaining question and force Officer Ethan Walker to confront the full truth about the woman he had doubted only hours earlier. The conference room felt electric as the unexpected visitor stepped through the door, commanding attention without a word. Maya Brooks glanced up from her notes, her posture perfectly poised, eyes steady and observant, fully aware of the ripple her presence created among everyone present. Officer Ethan Walker, who had been meticulously reviewing earlier reports, felt a sudden chill. He had anticipated nothing like this and was forced to reconsider every assumption he had made that morning. The visitor's voice, calm yet authoritative, filled the room as he acknowledged Maya with a nod, immediately signaling mutual respect and prior collaboration. She responded with a subtle smile, conveying confidence and experience, the kind that came only from years navigating high-stakes environments where precision mattered more than ego. The attendees, a mixture of senior officials, analysts, and security staff, watched the exchange closely, noting the unmistakable recognition and trust in the interaction. Papers shuffled, keyboards clicked as notes were taken, but the conversation's gravity suspended normal activity. The visitor proceeded to outline key updates on national security initiatives, his focus unwavering. Yet Maya's interjections were timely, insightful, and demonstrated her deep understanding of protocol and strategic planning. Each point she made received attentive acknowledgment from the visitor, cementing the perception that she was an equal partner rather than an observer. Outside the immediate dialogue, Officer Walker's internal conflict grew as he pieced together the significance of her prior phone call, now illuminated by the visitor's presence and demeanor. He realized that the black woman he had underestimated was not only integral to critical operations, but possessed an authority and network that transcended the assumptions he had casually applied. The room absorbed every detail, the tension replaced by curiosity and admiration, the atmosphere shifting subtly as hierarchies realigned silently in recognition of her expertise. Maya maintained her composed demeanor throughout, effortlessly balancing professionalism with an approachable clarity, ensuring that every participant understood their role in the unfolding discussion. The visitor concluded his remarks, and the room, though quieter, buzzed with a new energy. Attendees whispered discreetly, acknowledging the implications of what they had just witnessed. As the meeting resumed with updated agendas and refined objectives, Maya's presence remained a focal point, a living reminder that competence, preparation, and calm authority could command respect and influence outcomes far beyond initial impressions, leaving Officer Walker and the rest of the staff with an enduring impression that this was not just another routine day in the conference room, but a moment that would redefine understanding and expectations across multiple departments. As the scene transitioned into the evening, Maya Brooks stepped confidently into the bustling operations center, her presence commanding subtle respect as her eyes scanned the room for familiar faces and key monitors. Officer Ethan Walker, already seated at a control console, noticed her approach, his earlier skepticism tempered by the knowledge of her unwavering expertise and the network of influence she carried. The room, filled with analysts, communication specialists, and support personnel, hummed with activity, screens flashing real-time data, each blink reflecting the gravity of the missions underway. Maya moved methodically between workstations, exchanging brief nods and strategic insights with operators, her posture radiating calm decisiveness and her facial expressions conveying both attentiveness and authority. Ethan watched closely as she initiated a secure communication line, the subtle click of the device punctuating the tension in the air. Once connected, Maya spoke in a measured, confident tone, coordinating complex logistical updates, her voice conveying clarity and command without a hint of arrogance, prompting efficient, precise responses from everyone involved. Officer Walker, standing nearby, felt the shift in energy as her reputation preceded her, and he noted the immediate deference from colleagues who had initially doubted her. She reviewed intelligence reports, highlighted critical details, and provided actionable guidance that quickly aligned the team's objectives, demonstrating her ability to integrate strategic foresight with operational execution. Outside the communications flow, subtle interactions hinted at mutual respect between Maya and certain senior officials, each acknowledging her authority without overt fanfare. The ambient noise of keyboards, low conversations, and monitor alerts created a dynamic backdrop, yet her composed presence remained a focal point, drawing attention to the precision and efficacy of her actions. Ethan reflected on the contrast between assumptions and reality, recognizing that the black woman who had been underestimated was now orchestrating high-stakes operations with efficiency and confidence, commanding both the room and the attention of those present. By the time she concluded her coordination and moved toward a side office for further planning, the team had achieved a renewed focus and operational alignment, the subtle energy shift underscoring the effectiveness of her leadership and the respect she had earned through knowledge, decisiveness, and calm authority, leaving Officer Walker and the staff with a clear impression that Maya Brooks' presence and guidance were critical to the success of ongoing operations and strategic initiatives. The operations center gradually settled into a steady rhythm as the final hours of the day approached. Screens continued displaying streams of information, analysts coordinated updates, and teams worked through the last objectives established during the conference. Maya Brooks stood near a large window overlooking the lights of Washington, the city glowing beneath the evening sky. For a brief moment, She allowed herself to appreciate the quiet progress that had been made. The challenges of the day had not disappeared, but the mission had moved forward, and that was what mattered most. Behind her, conversations flowed naturally among colleagues who now viewed her with unmistakable respect. The recognition did not come from titles, credentials, or introductions. It came from witnessing competence, preparation, and calm leadership in action. Across the room, Officer Ethan Walker watched as the final reports were completed. Throughout the day, he had learned more about Maya than he ever expected. Yet the most important lesson had nothing to do with security clearances, federal responsibilities, or high-level meetings. It was the realization that assumptions could obscure the truth long before facts had a chance to speak. As personnel began gathering their materials and preparing to leave, Walker made a decision. He crossed the room and approached Maya. Several nearby employees noticed, but remained focused on their work. Maya turned toward him with the same calm expression she had carried since the moment they first met. For a second, neither person spoke. Then Walker offered a sincere apology. He admitted that he had formed conclusions too quickly. He acknowledged that he had failed to extend the same patience and professionalism that he expected from others. His words were direct, honest, and free of excuses. Maya listened carefully. When he finished, she nodded gently. There was no anger in her response and no desire to embarrass him. She simply thanked him for his honesty. She explained that every professional faces moments that test judgment and character. What mattered was the willingness to learn from those moments and become better afterward. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes, yet its impact was profound. Walker felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Maya smiled politely before returning her attention to the remaining work. There was no dramatic speech, no public recognition, and no celebration. Only mutual respect. Later that evening, Maya exited the building and stepped into the cool night air. The city lights reflected against the glass towers surrounding the conference center. People hurried along sidewalks, traffic moved through the streets, and life continued as it always had. Yet for those who had witnessed the events of the day, something had changed. Inside the building, Officer Walker stood near the entrance where everything had begun. He watched through the glass as Maya walked confidently toward her waiting car. For the first time, he saw her not as someone he needed to question, but as someone whose dedication had quietly helped protect countless people he would never meet. Maya never looked back. She simply continued forward, focused on the work that still awaited her tomorrow. And as the doors closed behind her, the lesson remained in the silence she left behind. The strongest people rarely need to announce who they are, because their character speaks long before their title ever does.